What's going on, people? My name is Mukie. Everyone knows me as Mukie, and I'm a debt advisor. Today I'll be talking about who I am, how I got into debt advice and my journey, and why you should follow my channel. So I am from London, as I've said in my shorts. I grew up in a place called Colindale. Big up anyone from Colindale, NW9. Nice little area I grew up in. I'm 34, so I'm a 90s baby. So I did enjoy growing up and being outside. Loved growing up in Colindale. Diverse little town. Everyone knew each other. It was good vibes. Like, I always enjoyed growing up in the summers. Everyone knew everyone. Never got into any trouble. Always kept my nose clean. Grew up with my mum and my siblings. Single parent. Really, mum did a lot for us. She always made sure we were always good, and very nurturing parent. Looked after us and always made sure we were well kept and looked after. I went to school near Brent Cross. Went to a school called Whitefield, which has now been all redeveloped and changed. A bit sad. I'm a bit gutted. I had great memories at secondary school. Just loved it. I went to a sports college, sports school, so it was quite very sporty. I wasn't particularly great at any sports, but I loved watching sport, football. Big West Ham fan. Very worried at the minute because we might get relegated, which has its pros and cons, but I think we've got enough to survive, but we'll see. Let's not get into that. This is not a football. It's not, no sports here. We're not here to talk about football. But whilst being at a sports college, I decided that I wanted to study sports at uni because I wanted to get into PE teaching, mainly because I felt like, I don't know, I loved sport and I could relate to young people growing up where I grew up, and I felt that if I got into teaching, I could have a bigger impact in my community. I could impact young boys, especially with crime being up. I felt like something like PE and sport would always be something that everyone can relate to. Not typecasting anyone, but where I grew up, everyone was pretty much into sport. So I felt like that was a good way of keeping people out of trouble. So I've done things like youth work to work with people. But when I got to uni, by the end of my 3 years at the University of Hertfordshire, I decided I didn't want to do teaching because I realised teachers don't really have a say in what they teach, and really the decisions are very political. And I knew my personality and who I am, I wouldn't have really done well. So I focused on things like coaching sports, level 2 qualified in boxing, wheelchair basketball, football, and yeah, when I was 16, I went to a camp in Loughborough for all the top coaches in the country. So I mainly did it to get the extra UCAS points. No, I'm joking. I really enjoyed it. So I knew that sports brings people together. Like, one of my fondest memories, 2012 Olympics. I don't think London has ever or will ever be as happy as the 2012 Olympics. Everyone was happy. The sun was out. We had live sport everywhere, and I really enjoyed doing it. After uni, I bobbed around a bit, did a lot of customer facing roles, worked at an old venue near the university called Oceana Watford. Shout out to Watty. I don't think it's still there anymore. Everything's just going, isn't it? It's really depressing. I found out I was going to be a dad, so I was like, I need to get a job in an office. So I worked in a contact centre initially to just get some experience of talking to people on the phone, because I think office skill wise, you have to be able to speak to people on the phone using systems at the same time. That was my method. Then I think for the last 10 years up there, I worked in the water industry. So I worked for Thames Water, I worked for Ricardo, I worked for a number of client-facing roles. Ocado was where it was during the pandemic, so about 2020. I started there 2019, 2020. Realised that the organisation had decided that they were going to move to Sunderland, and no thank you, no disrespect. I wasn't going to move from London, Hertfordshire, where all I had my friends and family, to move all the way to Sunderland. But I did look at the house prices, a lot cheaper, but it wasn't a big move for me, and my son and my family live this way, so I wasn't going to uproot that or move there. So I found a role. I was working nights, and I think the last day I worked as a debt advisor was the 30th of November 2020, and I started my role as a trainee advisor on the 1st of December, or that morning of the 30th actually, of November 2020, as a trainee debt advisor at Citizen Advice. I covered Boreham Wood, Potters Bar, Radlett, Bushy area, and I was trained under an organisation called, the funding came from Money Advice Pension Service, which is well known within the industry as quite a tough, stringent funder, because there's a lot of requirements. And I felt, for me, if I look back on it, it was probably the best thing, because I was just coming into a new industry, didn't know too much, had barely any information on debts and priority debts and requirements and FCA regulation, and so a lot of jargon. But for me, it kept me at quite a very high standard, because you get a lot of feedback on cases of things that you needed to do. But as me personally, I'm not one that takes feedback very personal at all, so I'm quite methodical. Like, I remember creating templates for my interviews with people, adding to them every time, so that when I'm speaking to a resident or a client or a human being, because we're not all these things, that I made sure I covered things, and if I did miss something, I would make sure I had it the next time. So that's how I sort of learnt. And since then, I went to work for a local authority, worked in a housing homeless prevention team, because I wanted to get more housing experience, because a lot of the people I was working with were facing evictions, had rent arrears, had dodgy landlords. Not all landlords are dodgy, by the way, but I wanted to get my knowledge up so I could advise these people a lot better, and help them as much as I could possibly do. And I think that comes from me wanting to work in teaching and having an impact within my community, wherever that would be, wherever I live. I worked for the local authority for a little bit, and then I worked for a number of other charities, people in the military, people who, single parents, people who suffer domestic violence. I worked for the last 6 years. I've sort of been moving around different organisations, but making sure that I keep upskilling myself. So I'm CertMap qualified, which is through the Institute of Money Advisors. I keep up regularly with CPD points as part of that. And yeah, the main reason I've created this channel is because I don't think debt has a big presence on social media, especially for young people, old people, for anyone really, because I think we're in a very digital world, and a lot of things are on your phone, shorts, 2-second videos, and I think there's a lot of misinformation with a lot of TV shows like Can't Take, Take It Away, Can't Pay, Take It Away. So I want to disperse some of those myths, give people information, and just really give people honest, true videos, and give them information that helps them know their rights a bit more. If you like what you hear, please follow and support my channel, because it will allow me to do more content. And please bear with me, I'm not used to sitting in front of a camera talking to myself in a room at 10 o'clock at night, so it's not something I usually do, but think it's important. I think given the current climate with cost of living, politics, just the way things are at the moment, I think what my channel will bring is a bit different, a lot different to what's out there already. And I hope I can continue doing that and getting more information and helping people, which is really what I want to do. Yeah, well, thank you for listening. And if you have any topics that you want me to cover or go through, please comment, be interactive. I'm happy to engage. As a sidebar, information that I do provide is just information, in my opinion, and advice based on my knowledge and experience. However, if you are looking for advice, you need to speak to a debt advisor who can look at your actual situation and actually tailor your advice to your circumstance. So the information I provide may not be applicable to you, and if you want to check if it is, please speak to a debt advisor who can assist you. And there are a number of charities that have debt advisors, such as National Debt Line, Citizen Advice, Step Change. I think there's one for money wellness. There's loads. There's Pay Plan. So yeah, make sure you speak to a debt advisor if you want actual support with your case. This is just an information and an advice channel, but like tailored advice for yourselves. And just remember, debt does not discriminate. The plethora of people I've spoken to, young, old, disabled, non-disabled, black, white, it doesn't matter. Debt does not discriminate, and suffering in silence is not going to help you. So I think if we get that support, look for that support, open those letters and start working through your debt. I know it's tough, but you need to do it. It's not going anywhere, and I promise you it does get easier letter by letter. Yeah, that's all I'll say on it. But if you like what you hear, like I said, please like, subscribe and comment. Thank you.